This man, there was a woman who came up to him who had been bleeding for 12 years. That's 4,380 days. 4,380 days she was hemorrhaging. Life was leaving her body. That's 12 years. This girl was 12 years old. There's something about the number 12 because it represents seasons. There's 12 months in a year. It represents a number of apostles. It all has a meaning to us. And in this journey Jesus is on, he is confronted with people who are either dying or apparently dead. And now there's a choice between death and life. There's a book in the Bible you don't know about called the Syriac. It says, before each person are life and death, and whichever one chooses will be given. We have a choice as to whether we choose life or death in our life. Some people go on for years and years with the life being sucked out of them. The bucket of life has holes in it, and it seems like they're de-energized. About the time they feel they're going to have a breakthrough, something falls apart again, and boom, back into depression, back into judgment, back into criticism. Jesus is walking with this throng of people who are wondering, how is he going to handle death? Death is not the loss of breath and a heartbeat. Death is a perception. Death is the life we choose for ourselves. The older I get, the more aware I am of that the choices that I've made over my life have fashioned me into the person I am. Life is full of choice. Every day you have a choice to choose life or death. Every day we have a choice to have a positive attitude, a negative attitude, a paranoid attitude, a grace attitude, a benefit of the doubt attitude, or a judgmental attitude. And all those are choices that fashion who we become. And it is choices that fashion us. A lifetime of choosing has shaped who I am and what my life is about. Choices have determined my relationships that I have. You choose who you hang out with. You choose your friends. You choose where you put your energy. We choose. And I also have chosen the quality and quantity of those relationships. A lifetime of choosing has influenced the way I see and engage the world. You see the world because of the choices, the way you do because of the choices you've made. If you choose death, you're a negative person. You're skeptical, you're cynical. Because everything you see is based on the choices you've made over time that causes you to see that way. These men come to Jesus and they are cynical. They say, don't bother the teacher, she's already dead. Nothing's dead to Christ. It's only sleeping. With God, it's only sleeping. Are you with me? I am not saying that other people and circumstances do not affect us. But I just don't think we can blame our circumstances on others for our choices. You cannot blame someone else for the choice you make. But most people who walk in a death perception blame everybody for the choices they choose to make. But you're created in the image and likeness of God. You have the ability to make your own choice, and circumstances and other people don't have the power to make you choose anything. Are you here today? We can never avoid making choices. Within every set of circumstances, good, bad, or neutral, there's always a choice to be made. Before each person are life and death. Say, before me is life and death. And whichever one I choose will be given to me. What a man soweth, he reaps. And that's just the bottom line. If you don't like the world you live in, it's because your worldview has been fashioned by the wrong choices. Not good or bad choices. We're talking about life and death choices. It's not even about good or bad. It's about life and death. Every day we choose between that. Every day we choose between life and death. Every day we are choosing our way into one or the other, life or death. We all have our reasons for the choices we make. Here are some of them. Gaining approval and acceptance will cause us to make certain choices. Some of those are death choices to be accepted. Wanting to fit in and be liked will cause us to choose either a life choice or a death choice. A desire to be loved and accepted. If you are so hungry for love, you'll compromise everything to feel love. You'll look for love in all the wrong places. And you'll cheapen it because your choices are rooted in death. We choose based upon costs, benefits, and risks associated with our choices. We calculate everything out to make a choice. We don't make a choice based on the perception of God. We base a choice based on the risk. This is what's happening in this journey Jesus is on right here. I'm going to get to the end in a minute. We have chosen to give up. Other times, we choose to muscle through something. Sometimes we just choose to, like, I quit, I'm done. That's a choice of death right there. Other times we choose to muscle through it when we should sit back and rest. But when you're not in touch with the person of Christ, you will make choices, death or life, based on previous choices. Choices we sometimes make that we think will make us successful, wealthy, or popular. We'll compromise our walk with God to be wealthy. We'll compromise our walk with God to be popular. We'll compromise our walk with God to have somebody in our life that's not good for us because we're afraid of them rejecting us. We make choices which help us create a persona and an identity. You get around people who everything about them is the style, the look, the label. You'll make choices to be accepted by them. It's quiet up in here today. Death and life choices. These are all death and life choices. We make choices when we want to be self-protective or making ourselves feel better and happy. Life and death choices. Or we make choices to make another person feel bad because of what they've done to us in an attempt to get back at him or her. We'll make a choice. Well, that's a death choice. When I'm going to do something to make you feel bad because of what you did to me. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to belittle you. I'm going to demean your person. I'm going to make that choice because my worldview is so jacked up that I see the world through carnality and not through kingdom. Have you ever chosen yes when you really meant no? I'm going to ask you again a little bit. Have you ever chosen yes when you really meant no? That's a death choice. Why do we do that? What is behind that type of choice? It's the fear of standing up for what is right in us. There are thousands of reasons for the choices we make. And today is a day about choice. About choice, choosing life or death. Anytime Christ and his community is around, they're always going to choose life over death. That's a part of what it is to become a part of the community. Most of us look back on our choices as having been either right or wrong. They were good choices or bad choices. How many of you thought, oh, that was a bad choice, I shouldn't have made that? That was a good choice. But what if there's another way of looking at it? What if it's not really about good or bad or right or wrong at all? Have you ever gotten exactly what you chose only to realize it's not what you really wanted? Are you here? I know we're not in a building with a lot of echo, but have you ever made a choice for something and then realized I didn't even really want what I chose? I went out of my way to get this thing, and when I got it, I wished I'd have never got it. Have you ever made a choice that you knew was right or the right choice? A good choice, but it left you feeling empty as if something was missing? How many of you made a choice as the right thing, but it didn't fulfill you? This is life and death perception. Are you all here? We've made lots of other choices, but in the end, the only choice that really matters is the one between life and death. Say life and death. Choose this day, life or death, because that decision is based on who you're going to serve. If we choose to think, say, or do life-giving things, we choose life. Huh? If it sustains, nurtures, and grows life for ourselves and another, we choose life. Does your choices destroy, diminish, or deny life? Does it leave us unfit for life? Does your choices make you walk in regret all the time? I'm going deep today within you. Does your choices make you feel regret? Because the only reason you regret is because of the choice you made. You can't blame other people for that. I don't care what someone else does. They can't force you to make your own choice. You ultimately, created in the image and likeness of God, have the power to co-create your life with God by your own choice. We make the choice between life and death every day of our lives. We make the choice in ways we choose to see and look at ourselves and others. In our thoughts, say in our thoughts. It is in the words we speak that we choose life. It's in the thoughts we think that we choose life. You choose life before you ever do anything. And the problem is most of us are so reactive in our emotions, and out of ungrieved loss and unhealed hurt, we choose death reactively. We choose death reactively. We are so insecure. And in such a rush to get what we crave that we choose death to get it. We choose debt to get it. And debt is not just money. It's being obligated to something or someone that we are insecure about. It's in the things that we speak, beloved. It's in the things that we speak. What if we intentionally choose life in every decision we make? What if we just started saying, I'm going to choose life. Before I open my mouth, I'm going to choose life. What if we made that decision starting today? What if we sealed it with the flesh and blood of Jesus and said, out of this mouth right here, I'm going to choose life before I speak? Because death and life is in the tongue. You know, we're told that this tongue has the power to control our whole navigation of life. What if choosing life was the center of our thoughts, the words we speak, and the things we do? Life is not a nicer house, a better car, more money in the bank, a retirement home, a retirement account. Life is here and here. That's what Jesus is getting to. He says the law is not about right or wrong. It's about, and not about following the rules. It's about choosing life over death. The law was never intended to divide people into categories of good or bad, right or wrong. But that's what we do with the law. We'll take the Bible and we'll say, here's where you're wrong. Here's where I'm right. The law was never intended for that. It was a point to the way of life. It would say, this is the way to life here. It was not for the purpose of judging. You have people in your life right now you will not let back into your life because you've chosen death. You have family members in your life right now that you have put the law against and will not let them back in your life. In fact, let me tell you something. You can do benevolent things for the poor, and you can do nice things for other people out of death. Just because you give an alms to somebody doesn't mean you're giving them life. If your heart is given death. Can I finish up? Jesus did not come to make us good. He came to make us alive. He didn't come to make me a good person. He come to give me life. That I wouldn't walk all my years in death with my head down saying nothing ever works out for me. Nothing goes my way. I'm always put on. No, you've made choices to put you where you are right now in the seat you're sitting today. Those are your choices. Those are not anybody else's choices. Where we fail is we don't choose life, we choose death when we have the right to choose. I'm about done. Boy, you're looking at me like at a calf at a Newgate today. Some of us rush into things that destroy us because we're so desperate. The path of death looks better for us temporarily. Can everybody hear me okay? God has set us free to make choices that support, sustain, and grow and nurture life for ourselves and other people. What if we took to heart the choice between life and death? It starts with what Father was talking about. Be slow to speak and quick to listen. Why don't you tell yourself, before I open my mouth, I'm going to choose life or death now? What if we just said, I have no comment at this moment? Well, he said that to me. She said that to me. It's your choice to react to that. You don't have to give a response to something that is death. The inward person is the one that has to change before the circumstances can change. Jesus, in community, wants to transform our hearts more than mere compliance to the law. And I'm concluding, but I want you to hear me. You will not be transformed because you can keep a rule for a while. You can try to be a nice person, but it'll eventually catch up with you. You can use your will to abstain from something, but until you're transformed, until you're healed, it will always come back and knock on your door and say, I'm back. How many relationships are you going to burn through? How many jobs are you going to burn through? And of course, I'm preaching more than to just you. I'm preaching to 2,800 some people, last time I heard. Jesus wants to transform our hearts. It is the transformed heart. Everybody say this with me. It's a transformed heart that begins to change our life and relationships. Choosing life begins by looking inside. You can't change your life by looking outside. Life changes by looking inside. Why do I make these choices? Why do I make these choices I make? What is the root of them? What do you see when you look within? What anger is there? What anger's in there that you've not dealt with? That anger's making choices for you that are death choices. That anger will make death choices for you. What fear is within? The fear of lack, the fear of being forgotten, the fear of abandonment. What fear is making choices, beloved? What resentments are making choices for you? You know, when you are a resentful person, when you even resent your own choices, if you do not transform your pain, you will transmit it to other people. If you do not transform your pain, you will transmit it. Then you'll be mad at everybody because you're transmitting pain to them and they're not able to relate to you. Because who wants to be around a death vessel? I mean, I'll go to a funeral when I have to, but I'm not going to have a picnic over there in the graveyard. It's your choice. It's my choice. What prejudices and judgments do you have based on the choices you've always made? And here's one that we don't really talk about. What covered up grudges do you have that you've covered up with sweet personality but still throb within your belly? A grudge is a terrible thing, because a grudge is something you can bury deep and fake like you like somebody, but the spirit is so contaminated that you cannot escape the death stinge that it puts forth. What do you see happening within you and how it has affected your relationships? How has it influenced the words that you speak and the actions you have taken towards others? In what ways has it determined how you view yourself? Now, here's where I want to get to. Your self-talk and the actions you've taken against yourself. Let me tell you something. Most of you don't dislike people. You dislike yourself. You really don't dislike other people. You're mad at you for the choices you've made that has put death in your life. And you're not ready to deal with it. Because to deal with it, you're going to have to look within and say, this was my choice. I can't blame mom and daddy, the coach, the teacher. I can't blame somebody else now. I made the choice. What if before we ever spoke another word, we asked ourselves if the words we choose to speak are life-giving? I'm going to say something real simple. This is about as deep as I can get on this subject. Your spirituality is reflected in what you say out of your mouth. And God has been dealing with me. Not just what I say to other people, but what I say to myself. When you tell yourself, I'm just sick and tired, you're sick and tired. That's death talk to you. I don't know how much longer I can take it. What did the book of Sirach say? You choose and it will be given to you. I'm about done, but I want to touch a couple other subjects. When we know when we've chosen life, and we know when we've chosen death. Do you know when you choose death? You're saying something, and while you're saying it, you're saying, I shouldn't even be saying this right now. You're saying, I should stop right now. You know what I'm saying? But because of a lack of spiritual discipline and transformative maturity, we're not able to control that part of our being yet. We can feel the difference. You want to know something? Here's death. When you tell a white lie because you're afraid of the response of telling the truth to somebody, you've chosen death. When you tell a little white lie, rather than say, you know what, let me be honest with you, I just really don't want to go on that outing with you. Rather than, well, you know what, I got a phone call and I got business. That's a white lie that chooses death. That contaminates that relationship. That relationship is in compromise now over a white, stupid lie. Because you're so needy to be accepted, you choose death, the white lie. Oh, we all do it, don't we? Well, what are we going to tell them? We really don't want to go. No, what you tell them is you call them up and say, you know I committed this, but I really don't want to do this. Have mercy on me. Love me. But rather than me go and make your day miserable, set me free not to go. And that's how you deal with it, and then you choose life. Well, I'll be there, Bishop. You can count on me. Last 10 minutes, I just got a call. My aunt in Virginia is sick. I got to stay home. No, you don't want to come. Be a person of integrity. I don't know why I chose Virginia. It's because you're from Virginia. That's why I chose it. No, just joking. Oh, I'm sorry. God forbid. Lord have mercy. Every time, I'm finishing, I promise. Every time we make a judgment of someone else, we choose death. Even if your judgment is right, it's death. When we speak or act based on anger, we've chosen death. When we betray ourselves, we've chosen death. When we are indifferent to injustice, we have chosen death. When we isolate and live in fear, we've chosen death. We also know what it's like to choose life. Let me end on a positive note. When we come to receive the body of Christ, we are choosing life. When we choose life every time we offer forgiveness to someone and work on our relationships by holding our tongue, we choose life. We choose life when we care for the poor, strive for justice, and respect the dignity of every human being. But let me say this. There's a lot of people who do benevolent things to cover up the death that they continually walk in. We choose life when we are generous with our time. We choose life when we're compassionate. We choose life when we share our resources financially. You know, it's real easy for Mother and I to have you here because this is not our home. This home isn't our house. This is God's home. It wasn't a hard choice to say, let's have the church service here, because it's not our choice. It's God's choice. I appreciate you thanking us. All we do is steward what he's given us. That's all we do. We choose life when we ask for help. We choose life when we ask for help. We choose love. We choose to love. We choose life. Stand to your feet this morning. Despite our best intentions for choosing life, there are times when we settle for less than God has for us. If we choose to beat ourselves up for making a bad choice, a wrong choice, we are choosing death. Let me say it again. If we choose to beat ourselves up for making a bad choice or a wrong choice, we are choosing death in choosing to beat ourselves up. Here's the problem. The worldview you have from death says you need to suffer for your bad choice. But I'm here to tell you, when Christ is in it, he will say, don't beat yourself up. Kumai. Make another choice. Stop the bleeding and make another choice. Stop the bleeding and make another choice. Say it with me. Stop the bleeding, which is the loss of life and energy, and make another choice. Just choose again. There's good news and bad news about the choices we make, in conclusion. The good news is we will be given what we choose. The good news is we will be given what we choose. The bad news is we will be given what we choose. It's your choice. It takes a lot of energy to carry a grudge, because it's carrying a coffin full of bricks. Before each person are life and death, and whichever one chooses will be given. Bow your heads. Father, right now I speak Kumai over you, over your people. You have given them the power to make choices. They stand where they are today in life because of the choices they've made. But Father, you've given us a way out to begin to make new choices. We already know what they are. We already know what our tendencies are. We already know what our habits are. But you don't want us to beat ourselves up over it. You just want us to choose life. So I speak life over everyone. And when you come today, Father, in this cup and in this bread, you are visiting them on their deathbed and giving them life. In whatever area of life, and we all have them, that we choose death. I bless you all now in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit to choose life and not death. Amen. Amen. Let us profess our faith in Almighty God.